right, guys, welcome to the next level. Got my man Mike Pfeil with us today. How we doing, bro?
Good, man. How are you?
Awesome, man. Thanks for coming up.
I appreciate you having me here.
Appreciate you, dude. And what I want to talk about with you, Mike, you're out of the field now, right?
I have been, yes.
But last year you made a transition from in-home to, was it telesales or virtual?
I went just all telesales.
All telesales.
Yeah. A little bit of virtual, but just mainly all telesales.
All telesales. Okay. I want to talk about that, but also proper lead flow, which I think ties hand in hand, because that's like lead flow is one of those things that it could really help you out, also could cripple you if you don't have a consistent flow, right?
I agree with that 100%. Yep.
Like, I mean, a lot of times getting a new agent who's never been in sales, never been a lead-based sale to understand that sometimes hard. Like, I'm sure you've had these agents where they buy leads and then they don't buy leads again. It
happens every day. You see new agents do it. They just don't. Garfield and I were just talking about that.
Yeah.
People just don't understand how important it is. Not just the lead flow, but lead diversity, buying different types of leads and being consistent with it every week definitely matters.
Yeah. You can't. It's like gas in your car, right? You can't get anywhere on last week's gas. Like once it's gone, it's gone.
Yep. Exactly.
Same thing with leads. You got to continually, fuel your fire, if you will.
You do. Yeah.
Let's go back to, so last year just like most of the company, transitioned from in-home to telesales.
Yeah.
What was that like for you early on?
For me, it was rough, man. It took a good 2 months. I felt like a brand new agent that was like new to the industry. And I sat there, and every night I'd go home, I'd tell my wife, I'd say, I feel like I'm just starting all over again. Having success in the field and then you think it's going to be the same, but for me, it definitely was not easy.
Yeah.
I'd be on the phone from 9 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock at night, talk to a bunch of different people, and go home with no sales. And you're like, what am I doing wrong? It took a little bit of time, but I figured it out. I had to do things a little bit differently.
Okay.
Selling over the phone. When I was in the home, I was just very to the point. I didn't walk in and make small talk. I wasn't one of those people that found a picture on the wall and try to, build rapport. I didn't need to do anything. I walked in, I got down to business, and I learned very quickly that over the phone, that same approach didn't work.
Right.
I had to make stupid comments and things that normally I would never ask, like, how's the weather out there? How's your state? Old people like that kind of stuff. They like talking about those kind of things.
Do they love talking about the weather for some reason? I feel like once you hit like 55, like it's like just weather's important, right? Like, is it raining down there? I'm like who cares?
It is, but they like it,
Yeah.
But I had to find something to talk and build some type of rapport over the phone. So it took me a little bit, but I learned how to do that and learned just how to talk to people. And I had to find my own flow over the phone. So I got beat up, but then things turned around. I mean, I helped 275 families in like five months, qualified for the cruise last time, and did what I had to do.
Nice.
And I learned very quickly that when people are coming in here, I think they don't have enough activity, and then they quit too soon.
Right. How long did it take you? Like, what was your learning curve on the phone to where you felt like, okay, now I got this figured out?
It took a good 3 to 4 weeks, I
Really?
would say. But during that time, I'm buying leads and buying different types of leads and buying a bunch of them and just trying to figure out like my flow, what I like to work. And I ended up, ultimately, I did a lot of just final expense over the phone just because it's very simple. It's not complicated. And that's what worked for me.
Got it. When you were in the in-home, were you doing mostly final? Was it mortgage?
It was all mortgage.
All mortgage. So even that was a transition for you.
Yeah. Yep. But I just felt like it was easier selling final expense over the phone. So that's what I did. Now, I did at the tail end of it move over to a lot more IUL business over the phone.
Okay.
That I did do more virtual because I had to jump on Zoom and I was showing people illustrations and things like that. But it went from final expense over the phone. Then I was doing more IULs, and a lot of that stuff was Zoom. And then that was different too because it's like a 2-call close process a lot of the time. Wasn't doing a lot of 1-call closes doing the IULs, but both of those together is how I was able to write that much business in the last 6 months that I was in the field.
Yeah. So through these 3-4 weeks where you're kind of figuring out, you're buying all different types of leads, just trying to see what would work.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you sell IULs in the home, or is that something you started on the phone?
No, I did do it. I did do a lot of it when I was in the home. I always kind of saw the value in that.
Yeah.
So it made sense to me. I just knew that to get things up and running, I knew final expense would be easy, and that's what I had to do. And then I transitioned over to doing more IUL business over the phone.
Dude, I've had people tell me that you can't sell IULs over the phone.
Really?
Literally, people have sat in that seat and have told me that.
Wow.
What would you say to that?
Yeah, we do a lot of it in our group.
Yeah.
I mean, we sell a lot of IUL business, whether it's one call closed straight over the phone or it's on Zoom. For me, it made more sense over Zoom because I could share my screen and show people the illustrations, and it made more sense to them. Actually, would just do the whole application right over Zoom. But yeah, I think it's pretty simple to be able to sell IULs. And IULs, when you're selling them over the phone, like a 2-call close process, you would do a discovery call first, and that's kind of where they trust you, and you explain the product and you gather all the information you need. Then we would schedule a follow-up call, and then that one would be a Zoom where we would go over the illustration and show them everything. So, yeah, absolutely, we're able to sell it over the phone.
Are you running IUL-specific leads? Are you selling these off of mortgage leads or a mix?
We were generating IUL leads through Facebook, you know, running different videos and so forth, and people would call in off of that.
Got it.
That's what was working.
Okay. And you said a 2-call close. So the first one, discovery. Yep. What are you doing on that call mostly? On
that, we're just getting basic information. We want to know, you know, what they know about an IUL. Then we would kind of explain to them what it is and how that process works. And then we always wanted to get we wanted to know what their health was, and then also figure out how much they were looking to put into an IUL. And then figured out if it was something that made sense. If it made sense, then we would schedule a follow-up call. Okay. And then that one we would jump on Zoom and then go through the illustration. But even that was a learning process too. Yeah. Because you're scheduling a bunch of calls to get on with people, and just by doing it over and over again, like you schedule that first one and they got $50 to put in, you're like, man, I could have wrapped this up the first time.
Right.
So each time it's still a learning process. You're like, all right, next time let me figure out how much they're going to put into this thing to see if the second call even makes sense. Or you're asking the health questions to make sure it's something that makes sense, you know, because if all they qualify for is final expense, you could wrap that up on that first call. You don't need 2 calls to do that. Right, so going through and making mistakes again, it's how it seems like most of this business works. You just do it and figure out what works and keep it moving.
It's like, you know, when you say that, I think back to these people that say can. I go, dude, can's a strong word. It's like, I remember there was a time where I could say that my daughter, she can't walk. Yeah. Well, it wasn't that she can't walk. She just hasn't learned yet, right? That's like, true. It's the same thing here. Like, it's not that you couldn't sell them. You just haven't figured it out yet.
That is true.
No different than when you transition into the telesales, right? You probably felt at that time like, dude, I can't do this shit, right? But it's like, it's such a mindset thing.
It is. It is. Brand new agent yesterday I'm talking to, he's in the home and he's getting beat up, and I actually started laughing. Yeah. And he goes, why? I go, dude, we all go through it.
Yeah.
You know, he goes, I don't understand. I go, you haven't done enough of it. And I told him the way I would have handled it. And I said, you'll be surprised how fast you get, but you just have to keep doing it. I go, the activity and the appointments you run will fix all of this. And I go, we all go through it. So I was laughing when he told me, but I'm like, dude, I go, not only was I like that when I was brand new, but then I transitioned to telesales. I was having the same problems. I go, what you're going through is the same thing we all go through. I go, you'll get better. Yeah. We all do it.
Let's go back to that transition. You started to touch on it a little bit. What were the biggest adjustments you made to get to the point where you felt comfortable telesales? I know you said you asked about the weather, right? Yeah. Like, what else? What did you change to where you're like, okay, I got this now?
I just had like a very structured call, you know. Yeah. First I would call them, I would let them know who I was at first, but then it was putting things in there and trying to build a little bit of rapport. And at that point I would ask, you know, you have any family in the area? Who's the beneficiary? And then I would touch more on that information. Mm-hmm. And then just making stupid, if you walk by my office, you would hear the same stupid jokes every single time, you know, and just finding my own flow and my own rhythm, and then learning that when people are not in the final expense, like they want you to call back, but then learning again, just like in home when they would tell you, I'm going to think about it, and you thought everyone was calling you back the following week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I went through the same thing. I'm like, oh, my gosh, everyone next week is going to do that. Yep. I'm like, man, I'm going through the same exact things.
That's funny.
But you go through it, and you learn, and you get better, and you adapt. Yeah. You only do that by continuing to do it.
So. Right. That's like, I mean, I when you're saying that, I remember having like, we used to make fun of it, the folder of go-backs, right?
Absolutely,
like
man.
After that first week, you come back, and I was direct to Sean, so he's like, dude, how'd your appointments go? Well, I didn't help anyone, but I have these 5. This guy said that, you know, he'll be ready in 2 weeks. Yep. And this guy said that he's just so busy, but if I go back, and he's like, dude, take that folder and throw it in the garbage.
That's it, man.
Like you're not going back.
That's it. Yeah, 100%.
I had one client actually call me back. Now, this was someone, Mike, that asked me to leave their house.
Yeah.
And then the next day he's like, dude, I'm sorry. I was having a bad day. I really do need that life insurance. But
Yeah.
I've never had anyone where I'm going, here's my card, call me.
Yep.
They don't call you back.
The worst is if that does happen right in the beginning,
Yes.
because then the agent thinks it's going to happen all the time. Then there's too many of the go backs.
Yep.
The only difference is with telesales, there is a lot more of the follow up, and you do get a lot more. But it's learning the people that are BSing you, and you just kind of learn just by doing.
Right.
You figure out who really is serious about it and who isn't.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that's the key is, you learn by doing. But you have to make some mistakes. Like, I mean, we all remember, you get kids.
Yep.
Remember when they first started walking?
Yep.
They fall, they bust
do.
their ass, they get hurt. But unless they can't learn how to walk without going through that phase, right? Where they're clumsy, they're hanging onto the edge of the couch, and you just hope they don't fall and bust their head open.
That's it.
But it's the same thing with us.
Yeah.
Like, you went through that again on the phone.
Yep.
But you had to be willing to make those mistakes. So I think when people go, I can't, you're just not willing to deal with what you perceive as failure.
Yeah.
That's not failure.
Yeah.
Failure would have been you going, you know what? I'm going back in the field.
I had to do it last year because we started hiring so many agents, and they all wanted to do telesales.
Yep.
And it got to the point where I'm saying, well, talk to this guy. He's good at telesales. I'm in home. I'm not familiar with, I can't help you. Finally, I just said, you know what, with all these agents coming in, I have to do it.
Yeah.
I have to learn it and have success doing it so I can train and help people that are coming in. Or otherwise I wouldn't be able to help them because I've never done it. So I had to do it. And I'm glad that I did it because it was a very good learning experience.
Did you notice more growth as an agency once you went back and learned how to do this?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you have to, because if you're not out there selling with the team, then growth does, it stops.
Right.
We went from helping 600 families a month to we finished up a million family or 10,000 families.
And so we talk agency numbers. So you did $600K prior to this?
Yeah, $600K. Then we're at $1 million by the end of the year. So,
wow. And that's in how many months? What you?
6 months.
6 months. You went from 600 to $1 million.
Yeah.
And the biggest change was you got back in the field.
When you're out there working and you're putting up numbers, it shows other people that you have to do it. You're in there on Saturday and you're working, then things start to move. So
and you feel good, right?
You do. 100%.
How much better were you doing your own recruiting, or who was doing the recruiting?
I had a recruiter.
You had a recruiter.
Prior to that, I was doing it, but then I hired a recruiter because I knew what it was going to take to be able to sit there and sell.
When did you talk to the recruits when they got appointed, or like what?
I talked to them after we got contract started getting rolling. Like my recruiter would put them through class and get that stuff going. But once contracting started, then I would talk to them. Yeah, we were on Zoom, dialing together. We're working together. I mean, that's a way to grow and show people that you know how to do it. And then working weekends, those kind of things matter too. But if you're not out there working and helping things, move along, it seems like it doesn't.
Attitude, activity, two things that I got licensed originally in 2009, Mike, and that was like one of the first things Sean taught me was attitude, activity.
It is.
And to this day, it's still the key, two keys to this business.
People don't realize that it's that simple.
Yeah.
If you're missing both of them, then it doesn't work.
Right.
So.
Absolutely. Now, when did you notice, like, once you're back in the field, well, you're in telesales, you got it figured out, you're doing well. Now you're talking to these agents after they get contracted. It's a different conversation. It is. Right? You almost have your chest is pumped out a little more because you're doing it.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
And it comes across.
You feel different because you're out there, and I don't know, it just feels good though too when when you're making sales, or when you're the one posting in a leaderboard and your name is up there, and my admin is posting the posts that we post every day with sales for the day, and she's putting them up there. Yeah, you're at the top, so it feels good to be out there leading from the front. So it's good to be able to put those numbers out there and show people that what it takes is just work.
You got cruise qualified.
Yeah, that was great, man.
How was the cruise, dude?
Man, that was awesome. Frank's going this time, and I was like, man, I missed out. You know? So I didn't on purpose come out of the field. It just has kind of happened. Okay. And I'm like, damn, I would rather been selling, be back on the cruise, because it was awesome, man.
Now, why'd you come out? Just a lot of stuff going on in the agency where you needed, or? Yeah,
we started doing a lot of in-house stuff in terms of like CRM and leads that we have going on, and it's just taking a lot of my time. So, but it's good because it's helping out overall the entire agency. We have a lot of agencies outside of ours that are using some of the systems and stuff that we put in place. So it's been good. But I tell you what, it was more fun selling and doing those things than doing these things now. So I'd rather be doing that.
Right. Love it. Let's wrap up with some lead flow stuff, because that's very important. We kind of touched on it in the beginning. And, I mean, it sounds like, they just no, but people really have that mentality, right? Like, I bought leads over. I don't want to spend what I just made on leads.
Yeah. People do it every day.
They do.
I think the biggest thing when people come in And I get it because I was there. We come in, we start spending money, and the first thing that you want to do is the money comes in and you want to pay all the bills that you weren't paying because you bought leads. And I get it because I've been there and I understand it. But if you do that, you'll always be on that roller coaster. You'll make the money, you'll pay the bills, you won't have new leads, then you'll do it, and you're going to be up and down, up and down. But at some point, you're going to have to take that money and then reinvest it. And that's at the point where it's very uncomfortable. You're like, I know what I should be doing. My entire life, I was told to pay my bills. Right. So I was told that when I get paid, I pay my bills. I was raised that way. And it's very uncomfortable not to do it. But after a while, you do it, and you got to get things moving. And that's what I did. You know, I had to just say, I got to do this, as uncomfortable as it is. But that's, I think, the uncomfortable part that most people, I don't think that they're not willing to do it. It's just they're not willing to go through that uncomfortability yet.
Right.
But eventually, the people that have success, they realize that they're going to have to do something that they didn't want to do, and that's what's going to give them a breakthrough.
Yeah, like you have to change something, do something different to get out of whatever. Everyone's situation is different, but I mean, most people who come here are in some type of situation that they want to either improve or get out of. Fair, like
100%.
You don't. I mean, I don't have many recruits that come in and go, "Listen, Mike, I am independently wealthy and I don't need money at all, and I'm just here because I love to sell life insurance." You ever found a guy like that?
No. Everyone's in the same situation. It seems like I hear the same story over and over and over again. We're all here because something failed, that didn't work out, or we want to change this current situation that we're in. And so, everyone that comes in is kind of in that same boat.
Right. I think one of the biggest things when you're recruiting, you're mentoring agents, like it's helping their belief level. Number one, it's usually not the, if they know how to sell this type of product, or if we tweak their phone script, it's usually up here.
It always is. It always is. I remember my first meeting with Sean, and he was asking everyone in the room, like, what it took to be a good insurance agent. And there was a million answers up there. And Sean said it comes down to one thing. It just comes down to your self-image. Yeah. And I didn't know what that meant. But then over time, I'm like, he's right. I mean, he's right about most of the things he says, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But that was it. You're right. It comes down to belief in the way that you see yourself. And that's going to determine and dictate the success you have in the business.
Would you say your self-image was better when you were transitioning into telesales than it was when you first got into this industry?
100% it was. Yeah, because I've already had success in the business. So I understood that this was just normal. But when I first got into the business, I had a business that failed and think my life wasn't good. And, man, going through a difficult time like that, your self-image is very low. Yeah. And I look back and I realize that those difficulties that I went through with the business failing and everything else, it had a lot to do with me not having immediate success in this business. And it was the way I saw myself. And then as I started having success, obviously things started getting better. But when I transitioned over into telesales, things were completely different. I understood that it was just a learning process and I had to go through it.
Right. Yeah. And I think one of the key things that helped you was that you had a better self-image because of the things you've gone through. Yep. So it was easier for you to digest the fact that, you know what, I'm not going to be great at this day one.
Yep.
And it does kind of feel like when I was a brand new agent, but I know that if I push through, and you weren't afraid to make those mistakes, I think
I'm not going to get it back. I knew you're going to get it back. I always do.
So when you're brand new, it's like it's like much as we're telling you guys, invest in leads. We'll also get it. Like you were there, I was there. I remember getting that first paycheck with a comma, going, "Oh man, this is cool. I got this bill and that bill." But I'm like, no, And thankfully, I was working directly with Sean. He was like, dude, don't do that. Stupid. like you had that Capital One bill like for a year already, dude. You don't need to take your first commission check and go pay it off. It ain't going nowhere.
That is true.
The biggest mistake, like I remember, this is back when like the system we had, Sean would have to allocate the leads, right? He'd call you, hey, I got this many leads in your county. And there'd always be that guy like, no, I'm good. I bought a lot last week. Yep. And you just knew, you're like, bro, we all dialed together too. Like, you ain't going to have any appointments on Saturday. Dude. You watch. And that guy would struggle, man. And, like, we should have just got leads.
Yeah.
But, oh, no, I bought extra. It don't matter, dude. You got to have a constant flow.
I think in what we do, the minute that you learn that everything is just leads and people aren't better than you, when you figure that piece of it out, the whole business gets easier.
Yeah.
I remember when I think it was a year and a half ago, you gave away a bunch of my leads. And I honestly thought, I'm so good. I'm okay. I can give all these leads away and I'll continue to kill it and crush it.
Yeah.
I got slammed because I gave away all my leads. I was like, man, I'm hurting. I was like, I'm so good. I can just go into the ILC and buy all these. I'll do the same. It's not the leads. I'm great. It's me.
Yeah.
And then I got absolutely killed when I gave all my leads away. I was like, oh my gosh, this is difficult. Like, why did I do that? I should have kept them. But you realize it's just the leads. You think people are great, but they just have good lead flow.
Right.
You know, and that's nothing more than that.
100%, dude. It's like, it ain't you, dude. Not at all. Because, like, you know, I mean, what we do, it's sales, yes, but it's a high-intent sale. I mean, it's high-intent leads. People are interested in life insurance. It's not, you know, you're not randomly door knocking, cold calling someone that didn't ask for help, or they signed up for something free, and here you are trying to stuff it more. It's not what this is.
I had, like, when Frank came out of the field, I took over his entire sitting. Great. It was great because I could go to work at, like, my first appointment was at 9, and the last one was at 7. It was easy. It was a county that was a half-hour away, and life was, like, really easy for, like, a year and a half.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm really, really good now. I didn't realize I had a good area. And then when I started giving all those leads away, then that's when I started struggling. I'm like, oh, my God, like, I'm not that great. I just had a really good county, and I had good lead flow, and I had too many leads, which is a great problem to have, and giving that away is what started hurting. But it does all come down to leads, and sometimes people, you know, unfortunately, they don't realize that soon enough. And I think if everyone did, they would have success a lot sooner.
Yeah. What about lead type? You know, there's some agents that they get so caught up in, I need this lead, and if I don't have that lead, like a lot of guys with mortgage protection, you know, direct mail mortgage, like, I need, like, dude, I don't know if you pay attention to how everything works, but the younger the generations get, the less they go to the mailbox. Everything's electronic. They're not filling shit out and sending it back.
You know, the big thing, people used to fill it out and send it back, but now it's these IVR MP leads, which are absolutely killing it.
For someone, what's IVR for someone who's brand new?
Interactive voice response. So you'll call in, and it's just, you're pressing buttons. They'll say, you know, if your name is this, type this, or you're speaking into it, and you put in a code, and then you're just pressing buttons. Got it. IVR, and so then you get that lead. That lead is rolling. But you know what's funny is when you talk about different lead types, there's people that tell me they'll buy those leads and say, these leads suck, I'm not buying them anymore. She's very consistent at buying them. She'll drop like 5,000 mailers a week. Yeah. But then you got a guy that'll come in and drop 500 mailers. Right. His number of leads is so low, and then he doesn't buy them again after week 1, and then obviously he says they suck and then wants to try something else. Then he'll jump on one lead and said that lead doesn't work, and then someone else is killing it on that lead. Right. I'm like, dude, every lead you go to, you say sucks, but we got people that are killing it on every lead. I go, you have to find something that you're comfortable with. Right. That you're comfortable with, but they all work. We did a call with top agent KG. She's been up here before. Oh yeah. I mean, she kills it on ILC leads, man. Yes. Yep. Buying like titanium leads and absolutely destroys it. But every week she's like a person in the group that buys every single lead type and kills it on all of them. So I'm like, they all work. You just have to find out what works for you and what you want to work. Right. You know. It's like I've had people say this, and I hate this statement. All leads suck. No, they don't. How about all leads work? Yeah. Why don't we start saying that? All leads work. We're not saying every lead of a lead type is going to work, but it goes back to whole negative, positive, right? You could focus on the negative, and then you'll be convinced, like, you know, like these guys, it sucks so bad. Yeah. Or you can focus on the positive. Hey, I dialed these leads, I spoke to 20 people, and I booked 5. Yep. Okay, well, focus on the 5 you booked. Yeah. They all work, man. It doesn't matter if you're buying IUL leads, if you're buying mortgage protection, if you're buying the IVRs, if you're buying dollar leads out of the they all work. You can go right to the ILC and buy it for 50 cents. Right. You just have to be willing to work, and I think that's the biggest. It's activity. We go back to attitude and activity. So if your attitude sucks and you say this sucks, and then you don't have the activity, you're going to fail. Right. You know. But if you say it's going to work and you're doing a dial and you're going to work for the day, you're going to you're going to fix your situation very, very quickly. So, like, was your self-talk, was it worse early on? Like, compared to where it is now? When I got into the business? Oh, yeah, man. I wanted to quit every day. Yeah. You know, every day I'd go home and tell my wife, like, I can't do this. Right. Like, I'm not going to make it in this business. So, yeah, that is terrible self-talk. Yeah. That is not the way you talk to yourself. Tell you you're going to fail and you're not going to make it and life sucks. And yeah, that's like not good self-talk. No. What made you switch, or when did you kind of turn the corner? I just realized I had to do something different. Yeah. You know, and I had to learn to be more positive. And I realized how important self-development was, and how to raise your self-image and just think differently. Yeah. When I learned that and started listening to books and watching videos and reading books, you know, and doing things like that, and just learning and realizing how important what we do is more in our head than anything else, that's when everything changed. Yeah. I had to be different. Yep. You know, so if I wanted everything to stay the same, I would have stayed the same. You got to change something. Right. And it's you. If you're not having, you have to realize, first of all, that you're the problem. Right. And if you blame it on everything else and you have no control over it, then what do you have? You know, so when you realize that it's just you and you just have to change some things, then
yeah,
you know that you can control. So
that's like the blessing and the curse of this business, right? It all boils down to you.
it does.
You go out, have a great day, great month, great year.
Yeah.
It's because of your efforts, your attitude, your activity. Yep. You go out and have a bad day, bad week, bad year if you let it get that far.
Yep.
That's on you too.
It is, and that's a tough pill to swallow.
It is
when you realize it's all you. It kind of sucks, you know.
It does, yeah. At first, right?
You kind of wish you could blame it on someone else, but again, if all of your failure was other people's responsibilities, that kind of sucks too.
Correct.
You can't fix it. You can't control.
Right, and that's the blessing, right?
Yeah,
if it falls to me, I can fix it.
Yeah.
If I'm not having the results I want because of you, well, I can't do anything about that.
Yeah. Yep.
But if it's on me, I can make those changes.
That's the great part about it.
Yep. Which you have done over and over again. So, dude, I appreciate everything you do.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you having
Absolutely.
me on.
Absolutely, dude. Keep killing it. And even like that, just getting back in the field. Like, yeah, when you say, I think about people like Andrew Taylor, Zach Twardowski. Those guys have always been the one where, hey, there's a new lead type out.
Yep.
Oh, these agents say they can't sell. I remember when we had some instant internet leads come out.
Yep.
And everyone's going, oh, you can't sell them. Andrew's like, dude, watch this.
And people are selling.
He goes out and he's doing Hall of Fame type numbers, and hadn't been in the field in years.
Yep.
Twardowski with the IUL leads. He's like, dude, my agent, kind of like your deal with the telesales. Like, if my agents are going to sell IULs and they're going to sell off these leads, well, I better go try this and figure it out so I can help them.
That's it. That's the only way to do it, man.
Absolutely.
You have to.
So I appreciate you, dude. Everything you do. Absolutely. Guys, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you've not already. Like this, share this with your team, and you know where to find us every week right here on The Next Level. We'll see you next week.